Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Today we'll reflect again on some verses from Surah Al-Hajj, verse number 18.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم تر أن الله يسجد له من في السماوات ومن في الأرض والشمس والقمر والنجوم والشجر والدواب وكثير حق عليه العذاب ومن يهن الله فما له من مكرم إن الله يفعل ما يشاء.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. The translation of the meaning. Do you not see that to Allah bow down in submission all those in the heavens and all those on the earth, as well as the sun, the moon, the stars, the mountains, the trees, and all living beings, as well as many humans, while many are deserving of punishment? And whoever Allah disgraces, none can honor. Surely Allah does what He wills. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a very special verse actually because it calls for a prostration after its reading. And there are actually two of these verses in Surah Al-Hajj that call for prostration. It is the only surah in the Quran that has two sajdas or two prostrations in them. And this is a sign of honor and significance according to the companions of this particular surah, Surah Al-Hajj. There are only 15 prostrations in the entire Quran, so they're distributed over 14 different surahs. And it was recorded by Abu Hurairah that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when the son of Adam recites an ayah containing the prostration, the shaitan withdraws, weeping, and he says, "Oh no, woe to me. The son of Adam was commanded to prostrate and he prostrated, so paradise is his. I was commanded to prostrate and I refused, so I am doomed to hell." This first verse, in verse number 18, the first sajda, asks people to use their sight, really their intellect, to focus on understanding and reflect on everything that is in the heavens and the earth, prostrates or submits to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously, it's not a physical prostration, but things like the sun, the moon, the stars, the mountains, the trees, all creatures, all the different kinds of creatures have a form of submission, which is prostration. And this is a virtue of the inherent guidance that is programmed within all things. Nothing can deny it except some humans and jinn that do. And the ones who reject this, the ones who reject the submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is also deeply programmed within the human beings, they are the ones who are deserving of a punishment. But there are many men, many believers who prostrate willingly. And there are some things we do in our submission that we do unwillingly. Everything that happens within our bodies, our physiology, is a type of unwilling submission to the laws and to the programming that exists by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us. But the act of prostration is something special, something significant, for it symbolizes humility and submission. And it is both a physical as well as a spiritual submission. So that gives a special significance to these kinds of verses and even to the prostration itself. Now, the sun and the moon are obviously under the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but they surrender, they submit their will according to a decree, and they move in a precise way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed and programmed them to do. Men and jinn, we have a choice. Do we follow the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And if we do, then we will be separated from those that don't. And we will be divided according to the choice that we make. We're given this choice to take the responsibility. And it is a choice that we took. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this in Surah Al-Ahzab, that indeed we offered the trust to the heavens and the earth and the mountains, but they declined to bear it, being fearful of it. But humanity assumed it, for they are truly wrongful to themselves and ignorant of the consequences. This is verse 72 in Surah number 33. There's another sajda at the end of the surah as well, which is in verse 77. And this call or this ayah is very specific to the believers. It calls, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O believers, bow down, prostrate yourselves, worship to your Lord, and do what is good so that you may be successful. Our submission has a physical aspect of bowing, of prostrating, but this commandment goes beyond and includes a comprehensive worship and a comprehensive effort to do all that is good. And this is a real success. This is how our real success lies, in the true submission. Prostration is special, and the Prophet ﷺ emphasizes, as this is also the closest that a believer or a servant can be to Allah during this physical act of prostration, highlighting its significance in worship. And that's why it is a significant part of our worship. Our worship doesn't occur without some form of prostration. Some of the lessons from these verses highlighting the prostration or the sajda in Surah Al-Hajj are that there's a certain brightness that's described as well in Surah Al-Fath at the end in verse 29, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that there is a sign, a brightness that can be seen on the faces of the believers as a trace or a reflection of their prostrating in prayer. Now, prostration can leave a mark. Sometimes we see this, a mark on the forehead of the believers, and it could be a sign of believers, although most scholars don't believe that this sign or physical, the sign is something physical. Rather, it is a symbol of our submission. That is the prostration, and that's something that will be visible on the face of a believer as their humility and their submission will show. It is really a choice. Do we worship? Do we follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do we do all that we can do with the good deeds that Allah commands us to do that are tied to these verses in the sajda of bowing, prostrating, and doing all that is good? What does it mean as well? We should think about the most honorable part of the creation, the face, when it touches the ground in a submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This prostration is more than symbolic. It's also physical. It must be done with precision, correctly and perfectly. Not just the physical aspect, but also the heart and the mind submits when we prostrate. All things prostrate in their own way, and they're programmed to do so. And so is the believer if he recognizes the reality and accepts the message of the Quran. This gives comfort as well to the Muslims, because we as Muslims, when we submit and we prostrate, we are aligned with all the natural forms in the rest of the world, with all the creation. None of them reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and neither should we. For the ones who reject Allah are really disruptive. They're not in harmony with the rest of the creation. In a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ tells us, when a person prostrates, he prostrates on 7 parts of his body: his face, his hands, his knees, and his feet. This is the direction of attention. It's a complete submission, so that all of the limbs, from the attention that we give our face and our direction of our attention, our body and our heart, our hands and our feet, and everything we do in our life is directed towards good and towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us to do and fulfill the commands of prostration and submission to Him. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.